Alright, y'all know I'm not a teacher, but I've had these scriptures on my heart and mind for a few weeks now, and I believe there's something in it for us if we'll dig a little bit. But sometimes in order to get to what we need out of something, we've got to dig. Brother Brandon, if I'm ever going to get anything out of God's Word, I have to put forth an effort.
That's right.
You're not going to get your taters out of the ground if you don't dig them up. So let us try to dig tonight and gain a little knowledge through this parable that the Lord has given us today. Matthew chapter 13, verse 24, it says, "Another parable put he forth unto them, saying, The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat, went his way. But when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? From whence then hath it tares? He said unto them, An enemy has done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? And he said, Nay, lest while ye gather up the tares ye root up also the wheat with them. Let both grow together until the harvest, and at the time of the harvest I will say unto the reapers, Gather ye together first the tares, bind them in bundles, and burn them, and gather the wheat into my barn." And I know the context of this. You read on down further, it explains the parable and talking about the end times. And I understand the context of the Scripture is very important. I understand that. But sometimes the Lord will allow our minds and our hearts to see Scripture out of context to teach us a lesson. And I know there's some sticklers out there, Brother Brandon, that if you ever veer from context, they just do not like it. But I like to dwell with the Spirit.
Yes.
And if the Spirit will teach me something through the Scriptures out of context, I want to learn it.
Sure.
So y'all give me a little rope this evening, and we'll try to stay as close to context as we can, but also as far as the Lord will let us go the other way, we're going to go that way because we just want to be obedient. And in your definitions that I give you, the first one is fruitful. This whole parable is about a field. You look at it, it's a field, and the field represents our life, Brother John. We all have our life. That is our field. That's where we're going to plant. That's where we're going to harvest. That's where we're going to sow. And whatever we put in our field is going to come up. Okay? And I want us to understand something. I want you to look at your life with some self-examination. What kind of field do you have? Is your field fruitful? Or is it fruitless? Because just as it's fruitful, it can be fruitless. And I've been both ways. And right now I feel more fruitful than I've been in the past. But next year I may be fruitless. I may be in a drought. And I may be needing you guys to help bring me something. I may need y'all to drop me some handfuls of purpose where I can glean. Because it's not every time, every day that we spend in this life that it's always just going to be fruitful. Now, I have a lot to do with that in my life. I can control a lot of that by my actions, by my work, by my study, by my life in general. Because if I set out and I do fruitless work, I'm going to be fruitless. But if you do fruitful work, then you can be fruitful. Alright, so in that definition it says fruitful is producing much fruit. And it also says producing good or helpful results or productive. And I want us to look in our lives, and I want us to see, whenever we come into church tomorrow, I want us to ask ourselves this question: am I being productive? Am I doing something that will help the furtherance of Mount Pleasant? Is when I come in the doors back there, am I being fruitful or am I being fruitless? Because Brother Blaine is our pastor, but it's not his job to tote the load.
That's right.
It's our job to push the wagon for him so his job's not so hard. Because I have pastored churches before and had to do the majority, and it's tough. I don't ever want Brother Blaine to be in a position where he thinks he's having to tug the load by himself.
Right.
So you young men, I want you to listen to me. As you grow up, one of the most fruitful things you can do is be a good church member. Be a good church member for your pastor. Be a good church member for your family. And most importantly, be a good church member for the Lord. Because that's most important above all. Because if you'll do those things, you'll make His job easier.
That's right.
Because, Brother Blaine, let's see, you're 24, right? The stress of pastoring a church is enormous. You got 80 members, there's 80 problems. 80 things. And what I mean by that is everybody's got issues and they expect him to labor. So I guess the first field we're going to talk tonight is the field in our church. What kind of what are you doing at church? Is it going to bring forth fruit? Okay. All right. Now, this is going to be scattered, I'm sure, because y'all know I'm not a teacher. I'm just me. That's all I am.
Go ahead.
It said, but while men slept, his enemy came and he sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. An enemy in our things that I got here is a person who actively oppose or hostile to someone or something. Then down at the bottom, a thing that harms or weakens something else. The problem that I have with this passage right here is that when was it, Luke, when did it say that the tares were sowed? Did y'all hear that? It said while they were sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about being a sleepy Christian. Because what happens when we get sleepy?
Yeah. Yes.
We sure turn off, don't we? We start to fade away. We start to zone out. Now, when we get going during the day and we're focused and we're energetic, it's a lot easier to see things coming. But when you get sleepy, Brother John, you may not notice that's coming from over here. You may not see that coming from this side. Y'all ever drove while you're sleepy? Man, that's one of the hardest things that I've ever done is driving from Gulf Shores home sleepy. Yeah. And you're just playing a game with yourself the whole time. Well, if I can make it to this mile marker, I'll be okay. Or if I can make it to this mile marker, I'll be okay. But the whole time you're doing that, you're just playing a trick with yourself. You're saying, I got this, but you don't.
You really don't.
So let me say, don't be sleepy. Be vigilant. Because, as we've seen in the past, our adversary, as a raging lion, seeketh whom he may devour.
That's right.
And I'm more proud today of Mount Pleasant than I've ever been. Well, she's yielding good fruit, brother.
Yeah.
She's yielding real good fruit. We've got a lot of good fruit here, preacher.
That's right.
And she's yielding good fruit. But if the devil can sneak over to this table,
That's right.
and he can uproot your boy, and he can go to that table and he can uproot my boy,
Go ahead.
those that are faithful, they'll just blow away
Yeah.
because they get uprooted. Lord, help us keep them rooted. And that's what this is about.
That's right.
That's what all this is about. And this whole chapter, there's several places in here that talks about the seeds, the field, the sowing. And I understand that you kids may not be very familiar with farm work, and that's fine. Listen to me, I can teach it to you. I've been around it a while. We can learn. But, and it said, but when the blade was sprung up, he brought forth fruit. Then appeared the tares also. And I noticed something in that verse today I've never noticed before. It said, whenever, if you look down in your definitions I give you in the Bible, it said tares is a type of weed, typically identified as darnel, which resembles wheat in its early stages. Okay, it looks just like it. I pulled up pictures, and just from my eye, I couldn't tell any difference. It's counterfeit. Counterfeit. Okay, so, but what it said is it said that the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares. Your good seed's going to bring forth fruit, but the lookalikes, they won't bring nothing. They'll just take up space. And I want us to look, and I want us to understand that your life, you've got room for a lot of stuff in your lives. Make sure that you put the right stuff in your field.
Yes, sir.
I mean that as humble as I can say, because I want my son, as much as me and him, we butt heads all the time. He'll never understand how much I love him. And Brother Keith, I want him one of these days, I want him to be able to have a good field. I want him to be productive. I want him to be fruitful. So, just thinking on these things through the week and through the month, I've looked and, looking through this stuff, I just want this to be good for you guys. I want y'all to get stuff from this to grow with. And I want y'all to, I want you to have good fields. Because I want you to be able to be a productive Christian. And sometimes I'm not productive. But I hope whenever I lay my head down when they die, go home, that Brother Keith can say, Brother Adam was productive. That he made a difference. That these things. And I want to tell you something else, guys, too. Your friends at school, they matter. Who it is you hang out with every day, who it is that we incorporate our life with, that we share our time with, they matter. Because if I'm not helping you, Brother Blaine, I'm your enemy. Because spiritually speaking, if I'm not helping you guys, then spiritually I'm your enemy. And I hate to sound ugly like that, but if when Brother Brandon and Brother John and Brother Keith, when you guys come into church, if I'm not helping to lift you up and I'm bringing you down, then I am the enemy.
You're right.
And we want to blame Satan with so much, when sometimes it's us.
Go ahead.
Because it's just easier to say, well, the devil did it.
Yeah.
And I heard a guy today, he was making jokes, but what he said was really true. He said, we'll say, well, the devil's busy. And he said, no, we're just lazy. It's what he said. He said, and he's a comedian, but what he said was right. He said it's not the devil is busy. He said, we're just too lazy. And if you're ever going to have a good field of crop, you can't be lazy. You've got to work. There's tireless work that goes into it. And I want you to look and ask yourself a few questions. Like, you may be working in my field today. I may be working in your field tomorrow. When I'm in your field, Brandon, what am I doing? Am I doing anything to help you? Or am I sowing tares in your field? And when you're in my field working, are you helping me? Or are you sowing tares in my field? Am I asleep and you're sowing tares? Lord, help me not to ever sow tares in your field. But we will from time to time. I'm not wanting to.
Right.
We're just human. We make messes all the time.
Sure.
And once you get it planted, you got to let it go. Because you can't pull it up, because you'll root up that you got that's good.
Wow.
And I know this, maybe it sounds... Oh, here's the thing. The tares and the wheat, they look a lot alike, but they're nothing alike. One yields fruit, one does not. But they both have something in common. They have roots. And whatever you plant is going to put roots. Whatever you put in your ground, in your field, is going to have roots. And I want you to know something else too. Y'all ever pulled weeds? Have you ever pulled flowers? Or something like that? They come up pretty easy. But them weeds, they're in there. Because whenever you allow those things in your lives, and just think about it. I'm not with you guys but 2 or 3 times a week. And I would love to be the man that y'all think I am, but half the time I'm a failure. I'll just be honest with you. How is it when y'all are at school? Who are y'all? When y'all are over at the ball fields, who are you? I'm just asking because I want you to think about it. Are you the same here as you are there? Because when we leave here, we're still sowing. Sowing's not just at church on Sunday morning. Sowing goes every single day that we're awake, that we're alive, that we're doing something. We're sowing. Whether it be good or whether it be bad. Alright, so I made a few notes. And I want you to think about your lives. What's the tares in your lives? I can look and see them. But ain't nothing I do about it. I would love to be rid of them. And there was a time when I said, I'm going to get rid of this tare. And the Lord said, leave it alone. And I had to let it go. I had to let it be. I wanted to do some things to fix this, fix that, whatever. And the Lord said, son, you better let it alone. And I think leaving it alone caused me less misery than trying to fix it. Because sometimes when I try to fix things, I go the opposite direction of what I'm supposed to. I had an old yellow 4-wheeler, it was a Honda Rancher, and the carburetor was bad on it. And I got a wild hair one day, Brother Blaine, I was going to fix that thing. I pulled the seat off, and I don't do motors. I don't like working on things like that. I get mad, I want to throw a screwdriver across the garage. I just don't like messing with them. Because I don't know anything about them, and I get frustrated. And let me tell you something, when you're trying to work on something you don't know nothing about, you ain't going to do no good. So I got that carburetor, and Kobe maybe even helped me pull it off. I can't remember. But we got it, and I pulled it off, and I was going to fix it. And it sat right there in that garage, broke, tore apart, for a long time until I carried it to somebody to fix it, because I couldn't. Because what I started, I could not finish. So here's the thing, is you're going to have these things in your lives, but please, please, please keep them to a minimum. And if you'll stay in the Word, you'll stay with the Lord. And here I am saying in the Word like I'm a study hog or something. I'm not. I wish I was. I wish I could do better, and I need to do better. But stay on your knees in the book, and not something else I need to do better. Anybody ever says they pray enough, you better watch them, because they don't. Alright, but I really wanted y'all to understand that too about the tares. Is they look real good for a while, but when it's time to produce, they won't. So be careful. Don't be a sleepy Christian. Don't let those things in your field. Let's make sure that we're attentive. And Brother Brandon, if you see me sleepy, wake me up. Tell me I'm sleepy. And sometimes it's hard. A couple years back, maybe a year ago, I can't remember. I got somewhat sold up. You know what me and you's talked about it. Yeah. And there's no need to beat the dead horse to death, but a little sold up. Right. And I just hushed mouth in the church. I'd sing and I'd sit down. Wouldn't say or do nothing really. And Brother Tim, and I love him for it, he had a hard conversation with me. But he done it in such a humble manner where it didn't hurt my feelings. How we handle our problems, how we handle our tares, it matters. And that day when he was working in my field, he was sowing good seed.
Sure.
But he pulled me over to the back. Everybody was fellowshipping and shaking hands. And he said, Brother Adam, he said, it's been a long time since we heard from you. He said, I'm praying that the Lord would just let you get loose. And inside, I was once wanting him to shut up, kind of, because I didn't want to talk about it. But he understood more than I understood he did. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And but that encouragement, I was sleepy. I just wanted to lay down. But he helped me that day, and he put my mind to thinking and saying, well, I do really need to do something.
Yeah.
I need to get to a place where I can do something.
Mm-hmm.
And then, wasn't long ago, I asked the Lord for something to do. Well, He's been good to furnish that.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of work for you guys to do.
Mm-hmm.
But just make sure that you're doing it right. Because whatever you're putting down is coming up. If it's weeds, they're growing.
Yeah.
And if it's good seed, they're growing.
That's right.
They're going to grow regardless. But I want you guys to think, and y'all don't have to tell me, but I want you to at least think about it. I want you to look and examine your lives and think about what's the tares in your life, the trouble that you, hindrances. I want you to think about your hindrances, because I've got a truckload of them. But I don't voice them to you because I don't need you to know them.
Right.
There's just some things that's nobody's business, just between me and the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my thorn, not yours.
Yeah.
And but understand that I want you kids to know that Brother John Beck, good man, he's a preacher, but he's got problems. He's got hindrances.
Sure.
He's got things that make him angry. He's got things that make him frustrated. Brother Adam, you ask Colby, I've got things that hinder me. I've got things that make me frustrated. And when I get frustrated, I get aggravated. And then next thing you know, I get mad.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a short fuse.
Sure.
I wish it was 2 miles long, but it ain't always.
Right.
But we all got troubles.
Yeah.
We all got tares. We got hindrances. All right, so, and I want you to know something else too. It don't matter what you think. People can see it. People can see when your field's getting growed up. People can see when you don't have everything cleaned out. And I want you to also think about who is in control of your fields. Brother Brandon, are you in control of mine?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
But I am. It's up to me what gets planted there. All right, now this fellow, and 27, this is going to be good, okay? I want y'all to dig into 27 with me for just a minute. It says, so the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field, from whence thou then hath it tares? All right, let's look at the word servant. We always think as a servant of being someone that's hired. But the definition of servant, one of them is a devoted, helpful follower or supporter. Brother Brandon, I'm a servant to you, and you don't owe me a dime. Because I want to be a helpful follower and supporter. But what these guys right here did is they seen the man had problems in his life. They went to him. And they didn't run him down. They didn't run away from him, but they ran to him. And they had the hard conversation with him. Said, hey, bud, I see your field. It ain't looking too good right now. Your field looks rough. What are you going to do about it? Then he had a decision to make. He said, well, I planted good seed. He said, but the enemy came. And that's true. Don't let the enemy in your field. If we keep the enemy out of our field, he can't put nothing in our ground. And he said unto them, the enemy had done this, the servant said unto him, wilt thou then that we go gather them up? But he said, nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you root up also the wheat with them. All right, now, 29, we see wisdom.
Yeah.
How many times, all right guys, how many times have y'all at school had somebody that just made you so mad, you just wanted to just jerk them up and wear them out? I've had that, I've seen that, I've felt that. But have wisdom in how to handle your stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If something happens in your life, the answer is not always acting a fool. Sometimes just calm down. Let the Lord work.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest one.
It's hard for me.
The very hardest thing for me ever to do, I think, Brother Blaine, is just to give it to the Lord. Because it's my nature, I'm a fixer.
Yes, sir.
I want to fix that.
Yes, sir.
We need hamburgers cooked. I want to be a worker. I'm a worker. That's what I want to do. So my initial thought is I'm like the servants. Well, I'll go jerk them up right now and get them out of here. And then you won't have to worry about them. But how about the humble heart of the other one? He said, don't, just leave them be.
Oh my.
He said, because I don't want you to wreck the ones that are there. He said, just let them grow together. We'll separate them later. He said, we'll get them sorted out eventually, right? And he said, let both grow together until the harvest.
Yes.
And in the time to harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather you together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them.
Yes.
But gather the wheat into my barn.
Yes.
I'm talking about a harvest day.
Yeah.
Make sure that your field has something in it that you can get a harvest. Because as a field, naturally speaking, we'll harvest once a year.
Yeah.
Your soybeans, your corn. Now, some of the other stuff you can pick it more times, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
But let's just say that when it comes harvest time and it's time to pick everything, let's say that there's enough that where Brother Brandon's in famine, I can give something to him. Because what was it we talked about maybe last time? I think it was Joseph. You know, he was in Egypt. He told them about the drought coming, the famine in the land.
Yeah.
And they had corn in Egypt because of that, right? So what I want to do is I want my field to be worth gleaning.
Oh wow.
And that's a thought that I have had before out of the book of Ruth. And I can't remember if I ever preached it or not, or if it was just a thought I had. But the thought that I had is your field worth gleaning. And I want you guys to listen to that, okay? And I want y'all to think about that. Nick, if I need something from you, is there going to be anything there for me to get? Bryson, if I need something from you, are you going to have enough to spare me a little? Golly, son, are you going to have me anything? Walker, are you going to have me anything? Preacher, you going to have me anything? Brother Keith, will there be enough for me to get? Brother Brandon, Jacob, Brother John, is there anything in your field that'll help me if I'm down? Brother Adam, is my field got anything for y'all? Because when the little Moabitess woman come up, she was hungry. She'd come way out of that faraway land because she had heard. And I think about it different sometimes. And I know Elimelech gets a raw deal for taking her down to Moab. I know that. But have y'all ever had to go somewhere that you didn't want to go because the Lord told you to go there? Out of that whole ordeal. And we can talk about Elimelech for taking them to Moab, and that's fine. But I want you to understand what happened because of that. For whatever reason he went, down there, his sons were married. They all died. And sometimes we may just have to die for the cause. But Ruth, if y'all get your Bibles and y'all turn to Ruth and read it, it's 4 or 5 chapters. Don't just skim it, read it, study it. It don't take very long to get through it, but let it sink in. But out of Moab, Naomi said, I'll go back to Bethlehem. And Ruth saw something in Naomi that said, I'm going to leave everything I got and I'm going there. Because she had something, she was down there and she had something worth gleaning. Naomi just didn't realize how much that she gave Ruth. Now, whether or not it's because something Elimelech and the boys done in her life, or just Naomi in general, I'm not sure. But there was something done in that family that was put out. I think Naomi's field was all right. And she went back and she said, don't call me Naomi, but call me Mara. And I don't know that they ever called her that. I think they called her Naomi through the whole book. Because whenever I have been out and I've got my field in a mess, I come back and I've made my acknowledgments. It's always been Brother Adam. It ain't never been sorry Adam or nothing like that. It's been Brother Adam. Ain't y'all glad to be a part of something that'll help your heart like it helps mine? And but I do want to talk about those things because out of all of those troubles, some times that Naomi went through, came Ruth, and she said, I'm going to go glean a field. And it said her hat landed on Boaz's field. Guess what Boaz had? Plenty. Boaz had enough to spare. Brother Blaine preached this the other night at revival. And I can't remember exactly what all he said. But I do remember enough to remember this. That he told them, he said, drop ye yet some handfuls of purpose for the damsel. Is that not one-on-one?
Yep. Yes.
He purposed to take care of Ruth.
That's it.
All right, now this whole Moabite, this whole gal, and I believe I preached on it here a year or two ago. I can't remember. But best I remember, and y'all have to look it up for me because I can't remember, but I believe Moab, I believe the definition was without pasture. She had nothing. Even the place she was living was no pasture. But she come to a place that had plenty. Because Boaz's field was fruitful. Would y'all believe out of that whole deal with Moab, out of Ruth coming from Moab, that was the lineage of Jesus? So let's not give to Elimelech too big a deal. Let's cut him a little slack. Because it's easy for us to point fingers and say, oh, he left Bethlehem, he done this. It didn't say in there, this is just my thinking. He may have been told to go. I don't know. There's a reason, right? So anyway, those are just my opinion, my thoughts. That's not Bible, that's just my thoughts. So understand that. Don't go saying Brother Adam said this is how it is, because that's just a thought that I had. And but I want y'all to know something. I love every one of you. And I hope that I have proved that to you. But what I want you to also consider, I want you to consider the shape of your field. And I want you just to dig in for a minute. The first thing that has to happen is self-examination. I can look and see in your field, Brennan, and I can tell you if there's tares. You can look in mine and tell me if there are. And if I had to guess, everybody in the building's full of tares at times, right? But harvest comes, and then it gets cleaned up. Then you start again. And like I said, y'all had to give me some rope tonight because I know this is out of context. I know it's out of context, but let us be good servants. And listen, servant, as I said a while ago, is not just somebody that works for you for money. Somebody for support. Because our job is to serve one another. We got a deacon board. And we always joke and say they're glorified servers. Is what we all, me and Brother Jimmy and him, we joke and carry on, Yeah. But we all should be servants to one another. But help our fields to be in a shape where there's not so many tares in it. Help our fields be that when we put what we got together, it'll make somebody want to stay. You know what I'm saying? And listen, I'm about done, and I've about went as far as I can go. But I don't know. I just got to thinking about these scriptures, and throughout the month they kind of laid heavy on me. And I'd read them. Sometimes it's like reading a notebook. Then sometimes it really speak out. And that's how the Word of God is, guys. Is every time that I open this old book, it don't always say nothing. I know it's on paper and I can read it, but I'm talking about spiritually. Does it speak to your heart? But keep your fields clean. Don't be sleepy. And be a good servant. And that's really about all I've got for you tonight. I know it's scattered and ain't much. But I want y'all to know something. If you ever get to a point and you need help working that field, call me. Brandon, you've had to help me work my field. Brother Blaine, you've had to help work my field. And you know what the good thing is too? There's been times when Daddy needed his field worked and he couldn't do it, and I'd go work his fields. Sometimes I'm not able. Will you work my field? Will you work my field for me? And I know you young guys, y'all may be thinking I've lost my mind. And that's all right. It'll mean something to you one of these days. Because you'll be able to understand better by and by. And I guess that's why the Lord laid this on my heart, these young men, is because at the end of the day, what I want to do is I want to give them an example. Not me, but us. The church. I want them to see an example of how a man should carry himself. I want them to see what it means to be godly. But in order for them to see me being godly, I have to be godly. But I sure do stray from that too many times. And I think if we're honest, we all can raise our hand to that. You know, Brother Ennis used to say, just fess up. And if we fess up, it sure is a lot easier once we get it fessed up. But think about it, guys. Think about your lives. I want you to, and I know I done said this, but I want you to think about the things that cause you trouble. I want you to think about the things that pull you away from the house of God. I want you to think about anything that hinders you from getting here. Now, I know this. I understand we work, we have to work, we have to do things. Brother Brandon said you might get called in the morning and not get to be here. You may not be here in body, but you're hard to be here. And I know that. I believe that. I trust that. But anytime, here's how the devil works. Here's another way the enemy works in our field, okay? Well, I don't feel like going tonight. And I'm not saying this trying to be hateful or anything like that. I'm just trying to use an example because the one thing the devil's always going to tell you to do is go next time.
Yeah.
I want you to think about what hinders you. The Bible said, one place said, you did run well, but what doth hinder you? What hinders us from planting a good crop? Is our seeds bad? Or are we just sowing bad seeds? What are we getting them out of the right dipper? Okay, here's another case. I guess it's been 8 or 10 years ago, and I think Colby probably remembers this. And me and him have done this little garden down there next to Mom and Daddy's. I don't know if you remember it or not. But Daddy gave me a packet of seeds. And on the seeds, it said squash. I went out there and I turned the ground, I tilled the ground, I worked the ground. I done it all right. The ground was like powder, it was easy to plant. And I planted the seeds, I covered them up, come back a few days and they was growing. And boy, I was happy. I like fried squash. But I got to noticing something funny. Them wasn't squash when they started coming out of the ground. The bag they was in was the wrong sack. Daddy had put them in the wrong bag. And he said, well, you didn't look at your seeds before you put them in the ground? I said, well, no. I said, you labeled them squash. He said, well, you ought to be able to tell by the seed what it is. He said, before you ever put it in the dirt. And the problem is I didn't examine what I was working with. Because had I had looked, I probably could have told the difference between the seeds. And I would have known that what I was putting in the ground wasn't what I thought I was putting in the ground. So make sure that you know what you're planting. Because whatever you put out, boys, is going to come up. And I'm telling you, the devil's going to come by and he's going to give you all sorts of excuses. And that's all that is, an excuse. I think the Lord gets tired of hearing excuses. Don't you think so? I know He does for me. Well, Lord, I was tired last night. I didn't want to study. I use that one. I use that too much. Well, Lord, I probably could have went and seen so-and-so today, but I didn't know if they'd want me to come by. Worst they can say is no. You know, and I know most of you boys, some of y'all don't drive yet, some of you do drive, and I'm not saying that you got to go out and see everybody or whatever. What I am saying is if the Lord lays it on your heart to do so, then do so. Because you'll never know what you might mean to somebody. Somebody that's barely hanging on needs that one little handful of purpose. Help me to be that handful. Help me to be some purpose. Help me not to plant a bad field. Help me to be attentive. Most importantly, help me not to be sleepy. Because here's the thing, is if I'm sleeping, it ain't getting planted by me. Somebody's planting it, but it ain't me. But if I'm up and I'm working, I can see what's going on and I can prevent. But if I ever lay my head down, just think about it. Traditionally, when does thieves break in? At night, when we're asleep. And I believe there was a passage in there in the Bible said that if the man knew when the thief would come, he'd been watching. Just always be watching. Always be watching, because he's coming. And if he knows you're watching, he may not come as often. I love you guys. And I hope I didn't bore you to tears. I hope it was a help to you. And what I want for you guys is I want y'all to be able to take some of this stuff home and think about it. I want y'all to be, maybe when you're playing your PlayStation, son, I want you to, behind them headphones, maybe think about that field a little bit.
That's right.
And one of the hardest things, and I won't say that I'm prideful, but I have pride. Does that make sense? Because I want it to be right. I want it to look right. But I want to do it. I really don't want you to help me with it. I've always just been able to do for myself. Daddy taught me to do that from a young age. Not to not ask for help, but to be able to handle it myself. So as a rule, I ain't going to ask you for help, because in my mind, that's weakness, having to ask somebody to help me. And Beth bought some couches last year or so. Guess what? Biggin couldn't tote them by itself. So I had to ask Kobe to help me. Man, I hated to do that. It bothers me to ask for help. It really does. And Beth asks me all the time. She'll say, well, won't you just ask your brother or somebody to help you? And I say, because I do not want to. Because I want to do it. But I had to break down. I had to get Kobe to help me. But how about let's turn that spiritually? Let's look spiritually for a minute. If your fields are in a mess, you've got a lot of knowledge in this room. Ask for help. There ain't nobody going to think less of you for asking for help. You might excite one of us because we want to help. It'll give us purpose. It'll give us something to help with. Because idle hands ain't no good. Stay busy. If you're staying busy, you ain't sleeping. If you ain't sleeping, you're doing your field right. You're working. Make sure, whatever, I can't stress this enough. Don't fall asleep. Y'all ever had to stay up around the clock? Man, that's the hardest thing. And it's fine for about 2 o'clock. And then you start sinking. But then you have to push on through. Then after that, you hit that second wind. So whenever you feel like that you can't handle it, just push through. And I tell you something else too, is it's easier to stay awake if you have somebody there with you, helping you. Our little group we got, our text group we talk, that helps me. It may just be Brother John sending good morning, brother.
I look forward to that.
It just helps me. So you guys, you young guys, you got each other. Use each other.
That's right.
Don't do it alone. And look, I know some of you go to Susanmore, most of you go to Sardis. That doesn't matter. It don't matter. What matters is that we yoke together.
Mm-hmm.
And look, also yoking together, y'all might get something wrong sometimes. That's okay.
Sure is.
We can help you get it right.
That's right.
Please, stay away. Use each other's for help. Use the men for help. Don't think you ever got to go it alone. Look, there's been times, when Kobe was little, I'd get him to mow grass. And, you're supposed to, and when I was little, Daddy would always lay the yard off for me. So I'd know which way to go. Because if Daddy didn't lay it off for me, then I'd be everywhere. And I would try to lay it off for Kobe, and he'd still be everywhere. And all I know is it didn't matter as long as it got cut. We may not get it right every single time, but as long as he stayed in the lines that I gave him and was cutting grass, he was cutting grass.
That's right.
But now that he's older, he can do it better.
Sure.
The lines are straighter.
Yeah,
It's more level than it used to be
yeah.
because of experience. Your fields will get better with experience. But you're always one move away from wrecking it. Just remember those things, guys. I love every one of you. And I hope it's been a help to you.
Brother, before you close out, I had a couple of thoughts that just won't leave me. I've tried to shoo them away.
Episode, right?
And they just won't leave, and I feel like I need to share them. Talking about the tares and the weeds. Rolled up together when you plant a crop. When I was 11 years old, the first job I had was holding watermelons. I had to take a wooden handled hoe and walk. Field right across from Mom and Daddy's house was one that was specifically for me to take care of. It was a 7-acre field. But then also helped on the rest of the 80 or 90 acres that was on the backside of the woods. And there was a crew of us, and what we had to do is you walk these rows, and there's watermelon plants every so many feet. And between them watermelon plants was a bunch of weeds. And you had to keep the weeds hoed out from between the watermelon plants until the watermelon plants grew enough to where there couldn't no weeds grow in, because the watermelons covered the whole ground. All right, now, the old man that I worked for, he was old when I was 11, so he's got to be ancient now and still working. But he taught me something about holding out the field and the reason for it. If you don't keep the field clean and hold out them weeds from between your plants, the nutrients that are supposed to be going in watermelons
Going to them
go
weeds.
into the weeds. The water that's supposed to be going to the watermelons is going to the weeds. All the different nutrients that are in the soil that are supposed to be getting soaked up by the roots of the watermelon plant are getting soaked up by the roots of the weeds. And so it's important to realize that if you have a field, like Brother Adam has talked to us tonight about your life, and in the field of your life, you've got church, you've got a girlfriend, you've got an extracurricular activity, you've got some kind of hobby. Every one of them is going to take nutrients from you. Every one of them is going to take effort from you. I've got a wife, and I've got however many youngins I've got. I don't lost count. But they all take energy and effort from me. I've got to devote time to my marriage. Because if I don't, then the marriage fails.
Right. You don't cultivate it.
I've got a church that I've got to devote time to, because if I don't, then my spiritual life and my relationship with the church fails. I've got to cultivate my relationship with my children, because if I don't, then that relationship fails. I've got a job that I've got to go to. If I don't dedicate time to my job, then I don't have a paycheck. My point behind all this is everything in your life is going to take effort and energy from you. You've only got 24 hours in a day.
Right.
You've only got a certain amount of gallons in the gas tank. However you want to compare this. So you've got to decide for yourself how much energy you're going to put in to each thing that's in your life. Are you going to put more energy into your friends and your girlfriends than you do the Word of God? Well, guess what? Your relationship with your friends and your girlfriends is going to be a lot stronger than your relationship with God. If I'm going to put, and I'm guilty of this, Brother Adam, you mentioned I may get called, and I do. There's times that things happen. I've had to leave church before.
Sure.
Because I got called in the middle of church service, and I had to go load trucks because none of the city had a water main broke, and they had to have ground. And I had to leave and go do it. Okay, but outside of extenuating circumstances, if I dedicate way too much time to my job, sure, I'll have a big paycheck, but my family life's going to suffer. My church life's going to suffer, because I'll be too tired on Wednesdays to get here. I'll be too tired on Sunday mornings to even pay attention when Brother Lund gets up. The things that are in your life require attention. They require energy. If Bentley wants to be good at baseball, he's got to practice. He's got to dedicate time to it.
Mhm.
Got two young preachers sitting in here. Don't preach just because, don't study just because you've got an appointment. Study because you've been called.
Mhm.
But that goes for the rest of you too. Study the Word. Dedicate time, and you've got to decide what you're going to dedicate the time. What are you going to give nutrients to? Are you going to give nutrients to the tares? Or are you going to give nutrients to the wheat? Because they're going to be there. Even after we hoed in the fields, you didn't just hold them one time. You had to go back through multiple times and keep that field hoed out until the watermelon vines grew so much. There were still weeds underneath them watermelon vines, but they just weren't very big. You're going to have tares in your life. You're going to have hindrances in your life. But if you make sure that you're dedicated to keeping your rows straight and in between your plants weeded out, then you're going to have more nutrients on your harvest, on your good fruit, than you are the tare. Now another thing that a thought that I had, it's talked about here in the verses where it says, "Nay, lest while you gather up the tares, you get the good wheat also." Whenever root systems, and Brother Adam knows a lot more about this than I do, but when you plant things, the roots help control soil erosion. It helps keep things in place. If you've got a big hillside and you don't have any grass on it and it rains hard, it's just going to rut up. It's just going to run off. You're not going to have a smooth surface anymore. You've got to have something with a root system on it to hold that dirt in place.
Right.
Now, the tares, like Brother Adam pointed out early on in his study tonight, the tares have roots just like the wheat. The sins in your life, not just sins, the hindrances. It's not a sin to have a girlfriend to keep. It's not a sin to have friends. It's not a sin to play sports. But those can be hindrances.
Sure.
Those are things that can take nutrients away from your spiritual life with God. Everything's got a priority. Okay? But if you go to trying to just rip up all the hindrances out of your life and you pull all those root systems out, now you've just got loose soil and your good fruit, your good plant, doesn't have anything to hold on to anymore. And so now you're not in deep, good soil anymore. You're on shallow ground. And Brother Adam, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've got to have some deep, fertile ground for roots to grow properly. If you've got shallow ground that's not compacted the right way, those roots don't have anything to hold on to themselves. And whenever they don't have anything to hold on to themselves, they don't have anything to get nutrients from. They have no way to feed that plant. And you let a good hard rain come, and that corn stalk's laid over. That watermelon plant is done washed out of the terrace road, and it's laid over in the walking path. And it withers up and it dies because it didn't have good soil. Well, it didn't have good soil because you took the soil away because you tried to rip everything out all at one time. You can't do that. What you've got to do is make sure that you're dedicating enough nutrients to your prayer life, dedicating enough nutrients to your study life, dedicating enough nutrients to your fellowship. There's a lot of times, Brother John and Brother Adam can tell you, they text throughout the day on our little group chat, and me and y'all know it can be hours before I even reply to it. And a lot of times this fella here will text me on a private message, "Hey, are you okay? I hadn't heard from you." Well, what they do helps me, but I get distracted. And I'm not dedicating enough nutrients to that good fruit. And so then they may be having a good conversation over here, but I'm way off in left field because I'm not focused on that. We've got to make sure that we're giving enough nutrients to the wheat that's in our field. The tare's going to be there. And you can't just rip them all out. It'll cause way too much damage. Not just lose a couple of wheat stalks, but you're taking the ground up. You can cause death. You can cause spiritual death for yourself and for those around you. So what you've got to do is you've got to dedicate. You look at it this way. You've got however many hours you've got of spare time, so to speak, between your school life and your sports, your band, or whatever. You've got to make sure that you're dedicating enough time to church. to prayer, to study, and to the fellowship with one another, with the church, to where you can grow the right way. I've always said this, Brother Keith, there's two wolves that live inside a man, a good one and a bad one. Whichever one you feed the most is the one that's going to be strongest.
Sure.
Okay? So, when you dedicate enough time to your prayer life, and your study life, and your church life, something's been on me a lot here lately. We've got good church members. But I'm going to say that in a different way, Brother. We've got good churchgoers. We're here on Sunday morning. We're here on Sunday night, and it's great. We sing, we testify, we pray, we listen to the preacher, we talk about how good he's done. Monday morning, we're good workers for our job. We're good students for our teachers. We're good ball players for our coaches. We're good band members for our directors. You know, all these different things. We're good at all these different things, Brother Jacob, but we haven't really dedicated our life to God. We're good churchgoers. We're good churchgoers. What we need to be, what we need to do is this word and our relationship with God and the church needs to be our life.
Sure.
All the way. You've got to pick what you're going to dedicate your energy to. You've got to pick what you're going to give the nutrients to. Because the tares will take the nutrients. They will take it. They will steal it. If you let this right here, I did it this afternoon. I knew that we had young men's devotion tonight, Brother Blaine. I come in from work. I was tired, had a headache. And I got my shower, got cleaned up, and I kicked back. And right to my left hand sat 3 Bibles and 2 devotion books. And on my right hand was my cell phone, and I scrolled TikTok for 2.5 hours. I didn't pick up a book. I didn't study. I scrolled. We got to pick what we dedicate our nutrients to. Because whichever one, I mean, it'll take it. It'll straight take it. Your girlfriend, your friends, your sports, your hobbies, all your extracurricular activities, something's going to get the nutrients. And if you're not intentionally pray, intentionally study, intentionally come to church, intentionally come to the young men's devotion.
Right.
I mean, make it a purpose.